Now, not too long ago on the channel, we did a video called Limited or Rare, where we were looking at the different strategy points that would have been opening up in the market for Classic and for in-season Limited and Rare cards, because there was a lot of conversation around that time around, when is it still a good time, when is it an optimal time to buy into in-season, or even Classic for that matter, just with the way the marketplace has actually went, and some of the price points that you can now find some fantastic players across both scarcities. And in that video, we were mainly kind of honing in on the move you can make from Limited to Rare at this point in the season. If you missed that video, I'll link it at the end of this one, because a lot of those strategy points we're not going to rehash in this video, but they're definitely worth checking out. So if you missed it, that video will be at the end of this one. But also a part of that video was kind of what I'm doing with Limiteds. Being an exclusively Rare player, I'm actually now fielding more and more Limited lineups. Now that the cross scarcity aspect of Sorare is really now just boiled down to, if you've got a higher scarcity card, they can play down the way. So uniques are like master cards, they can play in any division, so on and so forth down the chain. And with me having an abundance of high quality rares now in different leagues and whatever, I was looking at the extra utility that can be gained for rares by playing them in limiteds. A lot of players don't really have the ability to access it the way that I'll demonstrate, and you've maybe seen me do, because they've already got limited cards. So this is something maybe for most people you can do in conjunction. We maybe speak about using that as a bridge between the scarcities in the video I've already referenced that you can check out, of course. But this strategy for me has really grown arms and legs in a fantastic way, where it's now going international. It's maybe now jumping across the continent as well. And in this video, we'll be picking up where we left off on the last video in terms of where I'm at playing Rare and Limited, and really how I feel for anyone that's planning on playing in-season Rare with any degree of depth. This is probably one of the more optimal ways to build out your depth and your collections and your galleries and all the rest of it. So we'll pick up where we left off in the last video, and we'll see how successful it's been to this point, as well as what are my plans and my intentions to kick this strategy up a gear throughout the final furlong of the season. At any point in the video, if you laugh, you learn, you like something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. Get into the comment section, let me know your thoughts and feelings, of course. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into this one, because the Limited or Rare video we did came out on the 8th of January, and by coincidence that was game week 42. It was happening at that time, and game week 42 is where we won All-Star. We pulled that Mohamed Salah, but it's also a good game week for the limited strategy that we had with the limited goalkeepers. Of course, we picked up a tier 1 and a tier 2 limited in this game week, which was great because one of them was an Austin Trusty, which really did just paint into the whole collection dynamic of it all. Now in this part of the video, as I evaluate how we're done exclusively in the limited strategy, and what I've only been playing limited with in this case has been Contender in season and a little bit of Contender Classic with the absolute leftovers, because in season Rare, just as a mild recap, I've got 3 teams of strength, of course, and in Classic Rare it's the exact same, but I've got so much options and so much depth, and I'm winning in-season cards in the region through Classic and whatever as well, that I do have guys that are worth a shot, that are worth playing, that I can't squeeze into those 6 lineups, and that limited access has been like the relief valve on the pressure on the better players getting minutes and getting opportunities. So I'm not going to be counting like boxes and cards in essence and that kind of thing. I'm mainly more interested in how it's done from game week 42 up to present day for like bagging cash. Now I know that I've got one of these teams into D1, which is lovely, and on some game weeks I know it's had to play an All-Star. In All-Star we've had some success without it being absolutely fantastic, of course. But I know I've got one team in Division 1, and when you've had success, we had success earlier this season already. We've won a limited division thanks to, I think Valley was captain as a differential, and we had a bit of a play here. Here's limited challenger, which has just been, yeah, like the only region that was open that game week. And yeah, for the European midweeks, we've had a bit of a different access, a bit of a different extra utility option that's been available to us with this, and yeah, it's not really yielded much in the young boys game here. Now at this point in the season, I've only got to game week 47, we've not won anything significant, but I have earned D2 spots for 2 of these teams, bearing in mind that Limited had 5 divisions in it for the most part here. So it's good to see that depth and even just those other options throughout the time where I wasn't really focusing on this, we're gaining some promotions and getting some little wins on the way, so that as we get closer to current day, the strength only has increased because of the more cards I've been bringing into the club. I've been winning. I've got Brazilian cards now that will be coming into the action as well. And when we get to that kind of part of the video, I'll be able to show quite easily how we've managed to kick it up a gear. The limited Schmeichel helping out there with $2 is kind of fun, but that's not really the point of what we're looking at. One thing that I'll say as I look at game week 50 here is as well, is for anyone, and you'll see this with what I'm doing once we catch up with some sort of kind of status update on how we've been doing a bunch of boxes as per usual. And you can see with the classic ones, like there's like 2 DNP goalkeepers here, so I'm not always got like 12 teams here perfectly, but that'll change once we come out of the current international break. But also for anyone that's for anyone, no matter how good the quality of players you have that aren't selected in your priority teams or whatever, this is one of the only ways now to really XP to level up your guys without there being training. Obviously you can add XP to them manually or whatever, but it's not quite the same thing as what we're talking about, just being able to grind some XP out. But lots of box success, that's been pretty standard. Not too much in the way of actual card and cash wins ever since. So we get to game week 56. I think this was the first game week of MLS where we've won our first little bit of cash since we've been kind of pushing this one a bit more. The rare teams were all quite buff and quite strong, which is nice to see. Classics didn't do that great, but it's the first time that this has been in Division 1, and it's really been the realisation of, I've now got a limited in-season Division 1 team, where limited Division 1 for me is just as appealing as rare Division 1 for the most part. So and again, that's something we'll kind of tie into the end of the video, but as soon as I've realised, I'm in D1 now, all of a sudden I've put a much stronger team into it. We finished in the top 20%, we bagged $5, which is lovely, and you can see the quality of players that I've got here who, like River were away, Celtic were away, Romero only pulled in a 40. I could have picked a number of players that could have been better for that, but they were fine. They just couldn't quite make the best lineups, the best 11s. Would they have made a difference to them? Maybe not really. The scores were good, but who they taken out really? Like AJ, maybe that one would have improved, I suppose. But again, on the face of it, those are decisions tactically I wouldn't have made in my team construction. So it's great to still have them in a competitive lineup where worst case scenario they at least do okay in limited. So game week, we started at 42, so it took us 14 game weeks to get the first little bit of cash off the back of this, which is fun. And can we see Classic? Yeah, we had 3 keepers out playing. Didn't grab anything much more competitive, and it's a much lower calibre of player we have remaining to choose from at this point. So I'm expecting that to take longer to develop competitively. But it feels like, yeah, as soon as we get to that D1 status, 1, 2, 3 now, we're feeling a bit more competitive, a bit closer to the action. And after a relegation, a wee bit of essence without promotion. Like limited is a very hard division, so if you can have like your depth working for you here, like I just love seeing these little wins. Now all the limited essence I get and all the limited cards I craft, I give away to the FC Barcelona members on the channel, the guys that have got their season tickets that pay the £1 a week for gallery reviews every week, lineup building, the Telegram, WhatsApp it's like WhatsApp and Discord, but it's better. But all the people that are involved in the member section, anything that I yield from this we give to them. So this is just kind of fun for me. It's more than money I'm actually interested in yielding from my depth here, but it's good to see even in a game week where really, like, look at all these scores, they're all pretty meh, still managed to get into decent percentages, get a wee promotion or so, and get wee bits of essence along the way, which for you or anyone else out there who maybe plays limited a little bit more or is not giving all their stuff away to people, more access to card wins, more access to essence of any description really is just going to be a W for cards that would have been otherwise idle or underused perhaps. Because I genuinely think, like, if you can have this strategy as fleshed out as I'm close to having it being, if you've got the budget, like limiteds, like yeah, they're okay to have and whatever, but maybe next year if you did play in season limited and rare, maybe you could just focus a bit harder on rare and then just wait your time to get into limited with the kind of situation we've got itemised here. This is like a non-EU game, or a non-Celtic game week anyway. We're getting close to modern day, so I don't think there's much more to, or current day, sorry. I don't think there's much more to actually add into this. So it's just that one wee fiver we've got with essence and boxes and promotions kind of all over the shop. Decent success rate enough. We've maintained that Division 1 status. We've reclaimed it, I think. Was it this game week we got re-promoted? No, but we're back in it. I missed how we got promoted back into it, but there we go. A D1 and 2 D2s. So it makes those teams now, like the motivation for them to get into D1 now makes me want to prioritise them. Not prioritise them, but give them a wee bit more power, give them a bit more juice, which is lovely. And you can see the quality of player. Like, if I don't feel that James, it's away from home, the Caxa could be tough, I can't quite justify putting him in here. Like, Wanazek on paper was a much better game, and all the Celtic guys did well enough. Obviously, Engels didn't really deliver. The game was ultimately terrible. But that's still a really good spot to have him in, a D1, where if he does bring in a 94 along with some other pieces, like, Really, Schmeichel and Ida, Schmeichel and Ida, they let us down here. That could have been an RB D1 scoop for us. We've got classics here, DNP goalkeepers for this game week. And yeah, we're in the current live game week, which is international break. So we've only managed to scoop up to the $5 amount there now. But like I mentioned in the tip-off of the video, this strategy is went international because I've been picking up limited goalkeepers. That's really the kind of the kicker to this strategy is I only own 8 limiteds, and I think except for like 2 of them, they're all goalkeepers. And that's all I need to get these limited teams up and going. Sure, I've got some rare keepers that are kind of flooding back there, but the limited keepers are way cheaper, way easier to access. And if it is just for your depth pieces to give them something to play in, whether it be classic or in season, the limited goalkeeper is a strategy that I'm quite keen on. I think it's working out quite well for me because even like in this midweek situation, this is international. Just having an extra place to play those rares that are a bit sketchier. I can't quite put them in my priority lineup in good conscience. It just gives them somewhere else to play, and if they do pop off, you can maybe get in on the action with it. But now that he's playing internationals, for me, it just really drives home the value of having cross scarcity potential with your goalkeepers. Now, obviously, if I had more rare goalkeepers, I could just play them here. But if I was in this international break and I didn't have a limited international goalkeeper, I would definitely consider it a lot more than I would have done previously, just to keep all the players I've got in lineups, gaining XP and giving me the opportunity to maybe benefit from any good performances that might come, but are not that easily forecastable where I'll say, I need to get that guy into my priority lineup. But that then takes us to, like I've kind of already alluded to, because I've seen myself get into Division 1 in limited already, I had to jump, was it game week 66 I think? So I jumped ahead a little bit and I started to flesh out my teams for post-international break, starting to think about, this is it, starting to think about how I can maximise the final furlong of the season for Contender. Now this is subject to change, right? This is me just kind of fleshing out bits and bobs, right? But the way I did this for this build that you're going to see here is I built all my rare in seasons first, trying to optimise the classic position when I possibly could, as well as all my Celtic in seasons. James makes it in there, I think, just because of the game and the form he's showing just after the international break, so let's just hope he doesn't get injured or whatever. But then, as you can see here, I've got 2 Division 1 classics and a Division 2. I didn't pick them next. What I did after doing my rare in seasons is I started then doing my limited in season. I did Division 1 first actually, and then I went and built the 2 Division 1 classics and then went Division 2 in season limited before finishing up. I kind of just put the Brazil guys together for a bit of fun, and Bro Home just kind of fitted in there. But this in season limited D1 team is now on par for me now with these in-season rare teams because of the potential win. So I'm more than happy to put classic Berardi into that if I do feel that I've got a good in-season contingent to go alongside it. I've got in-season Schmeichel, so I should have like a good goalkeeper option quite regularly, as well as having the ability to play some of the Celtic guys that might do okay but might not score great. Like the in-season D2s like McKeown, I'm not putting in a better team. Same with Ida. Wanazek's not got a great match, but him being in season, why play him in Classic when I can play him here? Same with maybe Martin Boyle, Jeffrey Schlupp. So for this final furlong of the season, I'm really now thinking about this as I've got 6 in-season teams to play with my rares. The D2 Limiteds are obviously not as exciting because D2 Limited is just nowhere near as good as the D1. And ideally, we get all 3 of these now pushing in to D1 as soon as possible, ultimately, and then we can really crack the whip. And this is the sort of strength I want to lay out now in all the in-season competitions, while I have in-season utility available on all these cards to try and milk, to try and yield as much as I possibly can out of this. Now, I want to offer, I'm going to do a bit of a giveaway in this video. I didn't want to mention it earlier because I love doing the giveaways for you guys that stay tuned into the video and listen, right? But this is now spilled in. We've had a bit of success or a bit of, midweek utility with the Champions League. We're now getting some international utility as well. But as you guys know, if you check out the MLS Road to Glory, which is the video that I need you to comment on, right? So I've got 2 cards to give away. And it's only going to be given away to anyone that comments on the MLS Road to Glory video that went out the other day. And the comments I'm looking for on that one is about how you're approaching rare and limited. Especially anything to do with special editions as well, with the jersey numbers we've had, or trading in the secondary market for some of the fun animated editions, whatever it might be, and I'll manually select the winner. Now, I'll show you what the 2 cards I'm giving away are. They're really fun cards, and we'll have a bit of a card opening to go along with that. But this strategy, I'm now beginning to implement it in the MLS. As you can see here, I've got 3 in-season teams that, hey, They're not all going to be winners. It's a very ragtag budget bunch of guys, which I like all of them. I'm very happy with the additions we've got. Be sure to check out the Road to Glory series just for more intel about the strategy and the squad composition and whatever. But we've got 3 in-season rare teams. We've got 3 rare classic teams. And as many of the long-term subscribers to the channel will know, we have had for ages limited mat 3s to use for like the kind of all-star limited angle that we now have the Schmeichel do for us once in a while. And I have just about enough in-season players where I could play an in-season limited team now around this limited mat 3's classic goalkeeper card. Now the team that's listed here is pretty shit, right, to be honest with you, and it's not going to go very far, but it's at the very early stages of what I've already showed I've got going on in Contender, which is much more evolved and has went through the season, and I've got 2 Schmeichels now, and I maybe get a third by the season being out in preparation for next year, because I'll just have 3 classic Schmeichels then, and then I don't need to worry about Scottish goalkeepers and all that caper. But for this current game week that we've got on screen here, Alonso Martinez, the number 1 striker for NYC, is away on international duty with Costa Rica, and Brian Gutierrez, my Maverick at Chicago Fire, is on international duty with the US of A. So on this build, I'm missing a classic Alonso Martinez, and I'm missing an in-season Brian Gutierrez. Okay, so there's just like 2 players missing from the fold here, not much really in the grand scheme of things. So generally, like, this will be the dregs. This will be generally the leftovers of what I've got and what I might need to make things happen. Now I might need to, because I've just remembered I don't have an in-season Alonso Martinez, so we'll see how things go. But I might need 1 more in-season rare to just be done for where the current strategy is, and we just let it roll and evolve for exactly where it's at right now, for exactly where it's laid out as you can see it. But what I've done, because Malachi Jones isn't going to play, is I thought for this game week I'm going to go and I'm going to bring in an extra striker card. Now, as you may have maybe guessed or seen already, I'm now up to owning 3 Sebastian Leggets. I've now got a classic card. I said I'm going to give away 2 cards. I'm going to give away 3. So I forgot I have Sebastian Lletget Classic, right? But I'm going to give away Sebastian Lletget Classic as well as this in-season Sebastian Lletget, because I just got Jersey Edition Sebastian Lletget, which is a way cooler Sebastian Lletget card, which will do me now. I'll keep that to going into being classic and until the guy retires, and I don't need these other ones. So I'm going to give away my in-season Lletget, my classic Lletget, and I brought in another Monsef Bakrar. Now this is a guy I never wanted to own, I never thought I would own. I got a classic in preparation for the season that we're in. Sorry, Abada's went international duty as well, because it was like £2 for a classic. I got an in-season because it was super cheap and his pre-season schedule looked okay, and I've got another one because he's only £7. Like I mentioned with Alonso Martinez, he's away on international duty, so he's definitely going to play the next match against the Columbus Crew, which isn't that great a game, okay? But we've got him to play. Now, as you've maybe noticed, this one's in the packet. Now, what I want to do is I want to open up this Monsef Bakrar. If it's special edition, I'm going to keep this one, and I'll give away the one that I've already got in the gallery. If it's a regular version, then when this game week ends, we'll give away this one. It doesn't really matter. I don't care which one we give away, to be quite honest with you. But if this one's special, we're keeping it. So we'll give away a classic Lletget to 3rd place. 2nd place, we'll get the Bakrar. And number 1, we'll get the in-season Lletget. Get commenting on the MLS Road to Glory video. Let me know about how you're tackling... in-season classic limited rare. How are you doing it? Yeah, it's not a special edition, sadly, out of the packet. I always think the packets that are remain unopened longer maybe just get a wee bit more of a buff for RNG, so I was quite hopeful we might have actually got a wee special edition Bakrar there, just for shits and gigs really. So it's that with number 12, and who did we own already? Yeah, I got this one on auction, so this is first owner, so I'll be keeping this one, and we'll give away the number 12, so I bought that on the secondary market because it was cheaper and it was still in the packet. I've mentioned as well what I'm doing with the Seattle collection, looking to get that Champions League winning squad together slowly but surely for buttons and peanuts really. And the little Leo collection that we started to open up thanks to getting into Jonathan Bamba and bringing in the Leo Jonathans back to FC Barcelona. And I managed to actually pick up this Brazilian keeper, Leo Jardim, who's someone that's been on my radar for a fair little while. And I felt nervous when I was looking at the depth on the gallery that I had no Brazilian goalkeeper with the amount of Brazilian players I've got, because we know the one thing about the Brazilian calendar is that it just falls in the most random game weeks. and not having a goalkeeper that would have that fixture correlation more than likely lined up with the majority of those players felt like a point of exposure for me. So really glad to have that back in. And when those guys come back after the international break, I've not even built the classic limiteds here, but like you can see, this is basically all Celtic on the in-season. And I've used kind of 2 squads worth of Celtic here as well. But between them and then all the other guys that I've won so far, like who's left? Let's look at the depth we've got here. I've tried to keep the Amisas and the Tannies for under 23. So if we imagine that I kept that going, I don't know if I would need 3 under 23 goalkeepers, which is a lovely option to have, but it's there. But we've still got Gordon, who's playing Celtic this game week, so it's maybe not too great. But we've got Gordon, we've got Balcombe, and then we've got some of the headaches like McCracken and O'Hara and Laidlaw and whatever. So we probably need one of the under 23 keepers to play in here if we're going to field 3 teams of strength. But this is classic limited. This is genuinely like the bottom of the barrel. Quattro, I don't know if he's fit. Haustenberg, Bernabe, Tellez, defender Hitate, Ferry, Arriaga, Kufre. Look at all these guys that actually play and are not too shabby. I've definitely got 3 defences there to play this division, or this limited classic. I've not played any Masante rods in this build because I just don't know if he'll start for Botafogo. And they're away to Palmeiras. They're widely expected to lose. Alvarez, Cuisance, Ache, Cyprien, who's in China. Decent midfield options here. Definitely enough to cover 3 teams. Just about, probably, as long as some guys are playing and whatever. Cammy Devlin's been kind of MIA. And then look, I've still got 2 Dysons. I've still got an Atate forward. And then we've got the likes of James Wilson. Magno's probably coming from the bench. Neymar, who's got his wee injury still. Maybe he'll be back for that game, maybe just after. But it's going to be a really fun 12 teams when it's up and running. But this is like the nth degree of this strategy. The MLS version of this for me isn't going to go any further than what I've kind of got it at the moment. Maybe we get another limited freeze in, maybe an in-season one perhaps, but I don't think it would go much further beyond that, to be quite honest. And that's got me interested actually, because the limited freeze would make us hot streak capable at limited, which is actually easier score-wise than what it is at rare, isn't it? About the price of a Schmeichel. That may be something I eye up over the next month or 2, but it's not something I'm going to run into right away. And in Champion Europe, this isn't a strategy that I'm going to be running personally, because I've just not got the excess of in-season outfielders or any limited goalkeeper access, and I'm not going to go and get myself that limited goalkeeper access for Champion. I'm just going to focus this full-on in-season rare limited dual prong approach, as it were, exclusively for Contender, because I feel like I've just got my ducks in a row quite well there. And with MLS, I feel like this just gives me an extra avenue to make sure that MLS is as for lack of a better expression, profitable as absolutely possible, because the strength of players I've got, I'm playing a numbers game. I'm playing law of averages on eventually enough of these guys will have good games together where it will pop off and it will mean something. And just having extra combinations available, if you have the outfielders and maybe they're not selected, especially if you have duplicates like I do across a few different seasons of NYC or whatever, it just feels like an absolute tap-in, an absolute no-brainer for any Sorare manager to do. So yeah, I think for limited, for MLS, I've maybe just stumbled into a little strategy point that I'll look to pick up over the next week or 2. And for Contender, like the realisation of being in Division 1, having 2 teams on the cusp of maybe be able to push into Division 1, it feels like it's now time to adjust the sights, adjust the angle, and try and focus on those teams bagging cash as well as the rare in-season teams doing as well. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. On screen are now some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy, including the last limited or rare video, and I also put on screen the Road to Glory video for you if you want to enter the competition. The other video that'll be on screen will just be something else in case you want to watch that. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, retweet, all that good stuff, guys. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.